A quiet day on the Maitland riverfront today, but come tomorrow night, this will be the place to be.
We encourage people to come along early, grab a nice location and settle in for the evening.
There'll be free kids' activities, roving entertainment and food trucks for Maitland revellers, with a spectacular fireworks display for families at 9.
We've been working really hard with the pyrotechnicians. This year we're expecting a bigger show than we've had for a long time here, so expect a few surprises with the fireworks tomorrow evening.
In Lake Macquarie, the Wanji RSL is also hosting a 9 o'clock fireworks display, followed by a night-long dance party. In Port Stephens, the celebrations kick off early at 11 a.m. at Nelson Bay, followed by a 9 p.m. fireworks display. While Tea Gardens is also hosting a family-friendly event with a giant slide and jumping castle and a 9:30 fireworks show. But the biggest crowd is expected on Newcastle Harbour. Thousands are expected to line the harbourfront at Honeysuckle tomorrow night. Festivities kick off at 6. There'll be food trucks, a kids' play zone and even a water show. The night will finish with a bang at 9 p.m. For the bigger kids, the Cambridge Hotel is hosting a massive street party in the West End. Doors open at 6. Celebrations are expected to go well into the night. Georgina Smythe, NBN News. Cruising into Newcastle Harbour, the Queen Elizabeth made an elegant arrival in February. The giant cruise liner bringing with it 2,000 cashed-up tourists to enjoy the best of Newcastle. Also coming through the heads in 2016 was the big and bright Happy Buccaneer, delivering 2 mammoth coal loaders to Port Waratah.
It's a $60-odd million investment in the Port of Newcastle, and it ensures our reliability, safety and performance of our Carrington terminal.
Still on the water and the Hunter's most enduring shipwreck, the Cygna was steadily reclaimed by the sea this year, pummeled by wild weather. Newcastle played host to some of the best surf conditions in living memory in June, with 4 days of perfect waves.
I reckon the 2001 swell was probably better, but it's definitely up there with the best swells Newcastle's had for sure.
Controversial ride-sharing service Uber arrived in town in April. It branched out months later to offer mobility to people with disabilities. The inspiring story of a Hunter woman's recovery from Lyme disease came to the fore in May. NBN's cameras were there capturing Talia Smith's first outing with friends since overcoming the illness. Newcastle's own mermaid Juliana Barr-Thompson took the long and wet way to Noosa, paddling to raise money to help stop domestic violence. After 43 tough days at sea, she raised more than $30,000.
Relieved, excited and I guess happy.
The history of Newcastle's nightlife was put into print in August. Rock This City showcased the colourful decades of the 70s and 80s, including the infamous 1979 Star Hotel riot. In October, NBN News went behind the scenes, in the air and on the water on Newcastle Harbour to see what a day looks like in the world's biggest coal export port.
It's a bit like a game of ballet when you watch a vessel come through, navigate up that channel.
It's home to one of the oldest thoroughbred breeding enterprises in the world, and just before the Melbourne Cup, we took a look at what it takes to produce a winner at the Widden Stud.
It's a family business, and I'm fortunate that I was able to take over from my father and run this business, and hopefully it's a successful and exciting business, and one day my kids will look to do the same.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
He was a beloved family pet, Baron, a healthy 3-year-old greyhound adopted by the Fern Bay family in 2013. They booked Baron and the other family dog Charlotte into this boarding kennel over Christmas. They certainly didn't expect to spend the festive period mourning his death.
My partner and our oldest boy, who's like in love with Baron, went to pick up the dogs. And when they were there, you know, my partner paid and everything was fine. And then the man just walked out and just said, "Your dog's dead." And they're like, "Oh, we saw him 15 minutes ago, he was fine."
The shock compounded when Charlotte fell ill.
And then Charlotte came home and then collapsed on the floor in front of the children. And then the children become even more hysterical.
All the while, Nathan's partner Dean had Baron's body at the local vet.
The vet said that he believed, based on what he was seeing, that the dog had passed between 3 and 5 hours. He had rigor mortis, he was hard, his eyes were very dry.
All signs, according to the vet, that Baron had suffered heat stroke and dehydration. Thankfully, Charlotte is improving after constant care from Nathan and Dean. At the boarding kennel today, the gates were locked shut, only opened to allow people in to collect their dogs.
The owners of the pet resort are too distressed to speak on camera and say they haven't slept since Baron's death, but they maintain Nathan and Dean's dogs were properly cared for and did have adequate shade and water.
Nathan says he hasn't heard from the kennel's owners since the incident, but has been inundated with contact from others in the industry after several Facebook posts.
I've had so many kennel owners and operators contact me saying how sorry they are and offering their support and saying that they've been trying to fight for change in this industry. I had no idea what I was opening when I said, you know, this was a hard moment for my family. And then I've realised this has been a hard moment for a lot of families. I feel obliged to stand up for Baron because, you know, he died on the floor alone at Christmas. And this is what I want to do.
The RSPCA has confirmed the death is being investigated. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
You know, the last 5, 6, 7 games, you know, they're producing some really good football, probably, you know, the best in the league.
She was the wild card who took the world by storm.
Taking first place, she cannot believe it.
Lake Macquarie's Rhiannon Ifland sent the Red Bull Cliff Diving Tour into a spin, stunning the competition in the opening round in Texas. She then followed it up with wins in Portugal, on the coast of Wales and in Japan. Ifland was leagues ahead of her rivals, capping off a stellar year in Dubai. Staying in the ocean, 2016 kicked off with a surf fest in Newcastle. Matt Wilkinson and Sally Fitzgibbon crowned champions. Meanwhile, all eyes were on Merryweather's Ryan Callanan, who made his debut on the World Tour. On the Australian leg, the rookie failed to fire past round 3, and that continued on the CT, but strong performances at the US Open of Surfing and a 9th place at Pipeline has given him plenty of confidence heading into 2017.
Main goal is to re-qualify for the tour, so that's number one, but yeah, I want to get some good waves.
From the surf to the skies, Lake Macquarie's Matt Hall had a disappointing start to the year in the air race series, but the former fighter pilot edged his way back into contention with wins in the UK and Germany, finishing the year second on the standings. Onto the dirt, and Jason Doyle bounced back from a horror crash in 2015 to lead the Speedway Grand Prix World Championship, but a stack in Poland hampered his title hopes. Meanwhile, Northampton's Sam Masters had a breakout year. Both Doyle and Masters were also part of the Australian team, which catapulted itself into the Speedway World Cup Grand Final.
What a hero he has been for his country tonight.
Supercar driver Aaron Russell has had a tumultuous 2016. The Novocastrian scored a contract in the main game, but it didn't quite go to plan. He ended up falling out with Erebus Motorsport over a contract dispute. Now with news, the final round of Supercars will be heading to Newcastle next season. The 25-year-old is again hoping to score a contract. And with the Dakar Rally less than 2 weeks away, 2016 winner and the first Australian to take out the event, Newcastle's Toby Price will be looking to repeat that victory in 2017.
A sparkling day to close 2016. Honeysuckle at its best, preparing to host more than 10,000 revellers this evening. Stages set for what will be a family-focused event.
3 different stages. Battle of the Bands winners from Rosie's School of Rock, so that'll be very exciting. Different DJs and soloists. So it's going to be a great night in Newcastle to celebrate the end of 2016 here at Honeysuckle.
The highlight along the water, the 9 p.m. fireworks, fired from the centre of the harbour. The best vantage spots will be anywhere along the waterfront. With parking at a premium, extra buses are on hand to get people out of the area after the 15-minute-long fireworks show. All hands on deck at the Cambridge Hotel, preparing to be inundated with up to 3,500 partygoers for a street party, promising to be bigger and better than last year with 10 acts performing across 2 stages. 100 extra police will be on patrol across Newcastle to make sure everyone starts 2017 the right way.
We will not tolerate, under any circumstances, antisocial behaviour, so try and make your new year start well.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News. It's a piece of paradise, a little off the beaten track in Glenrock National Park, a popular wedding location and a launch for paragliders and hang gliders.
We get to enjoy it not only standing here, we get to enjoy it from several hundred metres in the air as well.
Club members so proud of this area they put their own money into redeveloping it, creating the perfect launch for their craft and a picturesque spot for the public.
We put nearly $30,000 into this, redeveloping this and fixing the big erosion problems and putting turf down and establishing a path to come on in. And so, yeah, it's turned into a great area for us.
The work completed just months ago, they're now frustrated vandals have already taken to it. Visible damage from fires and graffiti in the launch area.
There's a lot of guys putting in a lot of effort, and we just don't need the idiots of the world coming and doing silly things.
The clubs now say they'll have to again put their hands in their pockets, this time to fix the damage.
We love this place, and it's a real shame that some others are just doing some awful things.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
When you have cold water coming up from deep below the surface, it actually brings with it a lot of nutrients, and fish love that. So when you've got little fish, chances are you've got big fish.
The Newcastle Knights under Nathan Brown. The first look at the Auckland Nines going down to eventual winners Parramatta in the quarterfinals. 2015 Origin half Trent Hodkinson joined the side, but the season didn't quite start the way it was envisioned. In fact, it didn't quite start at all. A draw to Canberra in round 3 and then a stirring win against the Tigers at home in round 5 were the highlights. Then it all went downhill. A young side plagued by injuries. Club stalwart Jared Mullen spent a large stint on the sideline, and co-captain Tarek Sims left the club mid-season for the Dragons.
Hi Red V fans, Tarek Sims here.
But it wasn't all bad news. Dane Gagai proved a force for Queensland. Jeremy Smith called an end to his illustrious career, and Nathan Ross emerged as one to watch. Finishing last on the ladder with a whopping 22 losses, attention turned to the years ahead. A massive signing in Kalen Ponga giving some hope for fans. As for ownership, it's still up in the air. The city's other main franchise, the Jets, began 2016 under coach Scott Miller. Newcastle was sitting outside the top 6, but there was a breeze of positivity. The Jets finished 8th, and Miller was quickly hard at work recruiting. A change in ownership, the A-League sold the club to Chinese millionaire Martin Lee.
This investment, I think, it's a very good decision to many sides.
Laurie McKenna was announced the new CEO, and on the outside, things were looking good. But all was not well in the coaching ranks. 6 weeks from the season opener, Scott Miller was axed, and so was his deputy, Luciano Tranni.
This wasn't an easy decision, but the club's made it, and just please support the club.
Mark Jones was hired, and again the Jets were heading into a season on shaky ground. A strong start in the opening 2 rounds was followed by a string of losses and an awful injury toll. But heading into 2017, a few good performances and perhaps signs of better things to come. Over in the W League, the Jets women finished the 2015-16 season just outside the finals in 6th place, and this season has been just as inconsistent. The side is sitting in 7th with 4 matches to go.
In the fading light of 2016, By the Water was the place to be. At 6 o'clock, the mercury was still pushing 30 degrees, making for a perfect evening at Nelson Bay.
Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
Come down for the fireworks, sit down on the beach, catch the cool evening breeze. Couldn't get anything better.
Best way to see in the new year, absolutely.
The clouds soon rolled over, providing some relief for the thousands at Maitland by the Hunter River.
Cheers.
And while there was still hours until the final countdown, the kids were already celebrating. Was it fun?
Yeah, and a big flight.
It's really good actually, and it's good that it's all free too.
But the Hunters' biggest party was undoubtedly at Honeysuckle. 15,000 lined the harbour for a front row seat to a fireworks spectacular.
Yeah, pretty good.
Amazing.
Spectacular,
good.
awesome, really good.
I love them.
For a lot of families, this marks the official end of the celebrations, but as you can see here in the city, the party's showing no signs of slowing down. Bars were at capacity. But there was nothing like the Cambridge's New Year's Bash. Wood Street was shut down as the music hotspot took its stage outdoors, an all-star lineup helping revellers count down in style.
It's nice to come home and play to a home crowd and get to see everybody that's my friends and people that have been supporting us over the last 22 months. And yeah, it's awesome, man.
But it was the big moment they came for, Melbourne rapper Illy ushering in 2017. And it was a happy start for police across the Hunter too.
Only a couple of minor incidents, but generally the crowd was well behaved and it was a good night.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Out early across Newcastle, police on the offensive in a New Year's Day traffic blitz. From Mayfield to Tyes Hill and Adamstown Heights, officers were breath testing and speed checking anyone in their sights.
On the whole, Newcastle drivers have been very well behaved.
Except, however, for a worrying number, 18 people caught drink driving in the space of 6 hours at just 2 locations.
Obviously, we'd like to see that at zero. We prefer people not to drink and drive, but we are out here to catch those people that don't want to do the right thing.
That number grew steadily throughout the day as one by one drivers were brought in. 2016 saw more than 40 people killed on Hunter roads. Officers are determined to prevent any more deaths this holiday period.
Compared to last year, we've had 2 fatalities on our roads this year in the Hunter, which is too many, but it's down compared to the 3 we had last year over the same period.
Operation Safe Arrival concludes tomorrow night, but expect a heavy police presence to remain on our roads. Just as it finishes, Operation Towards Zero will begin, and that will run for 3 weeks.
It's just about concentrating on the task at hand, which is driving your motor vehicle. Don't be distracted by things in the vehicle. Don't be distracted by your phone. Just concentrate on driving your car.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
He's notched up more than 40 saves this campaign, a couple in contention for saves of the season, but Melbourne victory will be one of Jack Duncan's toughest assignments. The side boasts 2 of the league's top scorers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming up against probably the best front 4 in the league, I'd say. Melbourne City's up there as well in Sydney, but for me, they've been probably playing the best football so far this season, and it's going to be a good test.
With the Jets pushing for their first finals appearance in 7 years, tomorrow night will be a big test, and they're set to do it without their skipper, Nigel Bogard.
Nigel is a loss if he's not available to play, but all the boys at the back there will be looking to do a good job and to lead from the back line.
Released by the Victory at the end of last season, Andrew Naboo has been red hot since arriving at the Jets. With the 24-year-old set to face his former team for the first time, his old coach knows full well what damage he can do.
The amount of effort and hard work that he puts into trying to be the best he can is second to none. So he'll pose a threat. He's posed a threat to quite a few teams already this season.
The match at Geelong kicks off at 7:50. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. He's a rising star of the court, hoping to follow in another Leighton's footsteps.
He works just as hard, his work ethic's there, and I think if you've got that and the dedication, it can take you anywhere.
13-year-old Leighton Richards is one of 8 regional players who'll represent New South Wales in the Australian-made Foundation Cup in Adelaide later this month.
Versing different kids, different styles all around Australia, it'll be really good, and it's a teams event, you get to mix with your teammates.
Richards has spent the past month fine-tuning aspects of his game in a bid to match it with the best and brightest new talent.
My forehand has drastically improved. It's like a lot better than it used to be. A lot more consistent. My footwork has been a lot better. I've been really focusing on strengthening and conditioning, getting around the court better and making them work.
The Gloucester-born rising star, now New Lambton local, moved to Newcastle last year to pursue his dream, teaming up with former local pro Trudy Musgrave-Edwards.
Leighton has a great future. He's one of the best 13-year-olds we have in the country, actually. So he just hasn't played as many tournaments as some of the other kids, so his ranking's not quite there. So that's probably why he's not in the top 5 at the moment in his age.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Two deaths in 3 days. First, 3-year-old greyhound Baron, now a beagle, has also lost its life.
Oh, look, I just think it's appalling.
Both are thought to have died as a result of complications from heat stroke. It's prompted an outcry from pet owners and also those within the industry, including other boarding kennel owners.
Unfortunately, things will happen, but it's how you mitigate a risk.
Brett Wild's Eldersley Boarding Kennel is a nationally accredited facility. He's calling for a code of practice for all kennels to ensure a standard level of care across the board.
Dogs overheat in hot weather because they don't have an appropriate shade, they don't have somewhere cool to go, they don't have appropriate water, or the water's hot, so therefore the dog doesn't want to drink it.
Currently, there are no regulations which kennel owners need to adhere to other than Council DA guidelines.
We have pushed for the RSPCA to undertake those inspections on a yearly basis.
There are also calls for a registry to be established to record the deaths of any animals in boarding kennels across New South Wales, not only to ensure accountability but also to allow for peace of mind for pet owners. Jane's Pet Resort is yet to comment publicly about the second death. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Two hours old and camera shy, little Skylar Mitchell is one of 2017's first babies.
She's everything that I thought she'd be.
Not due for another 2 weeks, Skylar clearly wanted to ensure an eventful start to the new year.
There's no better way to start the year and with a little one to look after, so we'll take good care of her.
Alexander Holiday is living up to his name, ensuring a public holiday to celebrate his birthday every year. The first baby for Cassie and David arriving on the 1st. It's made for a busy John Hunter Hospital maternity ward, but there's actually been a fall in births. In the Hunter New England health area, 11,116 babies were born in 2011, 319 fewer in 2015. That's the largest decrease in births in New South Wales. Most new mums in our region are now aged between 25 and 34. While 91.4% of bundles of joy are birthed in hospitals, interestingly, Hunter New England Health has the highest rate of birth centre deliveries, where midwives provide the majority of care. However they enter the world, just like little 4-day-old Aiden, they sure do have a lot to look forward to.
A bit daunting, but I think we'll be fine. He's been really good feeding and sleeping, so it's like a dream baby, really.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
I speak to Mark Bridge regularly, so that's not so much about whether he'd come back or not. But we supported him to go to Thailand, and we'll support him whether he wants to come back or whether he wants to stay.
He was one of few positives to come out of Cronulla's infamous 2014 season. Then, aged 21, Jacob Gagan burst into the NRL, scoring 5 tries in his 7 games and producing defence to match. He was rewarded with a 2-year contract extension, but he was unable to break back into the first grade side.
Well, they were all in great form last year. Obviously, they had a great squad every week and they went really well last year, so it's a bit hard to break into that side.
Now 23, the former Australian schoolboy is looking to reignite his career in Newcastle.
It's been good. I think this is probably one of my first pre-season I've got through injury-free, and I'm feeling pretty fit and strong.
And he's embracing the chance to train alongside more experienced backs like Dane Gagai.
Their skill level and just the way they train, you can really learn a lot off them boys, just their intensity and that. So I think a lot of the young boys here really look up to them, experienced players.
Last year, Gagan played for the Sharks reserve grade side, Newtown, in the New South Wales Cup. He was one of the league's best. But joining fellow recruit Ken Seo in an already competitive backline roster, he knows it won't be easy to return to the top.
We've got a lot of depth off here at the moment and a lot of good players, so it's going to be tough to get into that first grade squad, but everyone's been training really well, so we'll just have to see what happens come round 1.
Yeah, you've got to come in with a bit of confidence, but there's also some nerves as well. So it's no, look, we're in a good way. We're in a good shape. Body's fit and healthy, and the bike is strong. So we're ready to go in and go to battle again, and hopefully try and come out on top.
The terrain and the uneven footing, the safety to the rescuers, as well as keeping the patient from preventing any further injury. So it was quite a difficult job. It would be roughly like falling off a 6-storey building. So yes, he is a very lucky man.
Their fathers, sisters, brothers and mothers, all loved and all missing, like Cessnock teenager Dylan Dickey. The 19-year-old is one of several people featured in a missing persons campaign, Summer of Hope. The campaign features on the AFP's website.
We can make a difference to the lives of those missing and the families and friends left behind.
Dylan Dickey was last seen near Trigg Road at Corribbear, southwest of Cessnock, on June 23 last year, riding a blue Yamaha trail bike. A large search of Corribbear State Forest found his motorbike, helmet and gloves, but not Mr Dickey. Also missing across the Hunter, 18-year-old Zach Barnes, last seen at Thornton on November 13, and 45-year-old Danny C, last sighted in the Singleton area on January 1, 2015.
If you have any information, please call Crime Stoppers.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Cars, cars and more cars. There are yards everywhere offering young drivers their first set of wheels.
Parents can play a role in terms of helping kids into safer cars. If you're in a position, you should be looking to try and buy the safest car you can afford.
The Federal Transport Minister has issued the call to help curb a growing road toll. Ted Lewis runs a road safety program for Hunter students. He says the quality of car is important.
You'd want them to be in a car that's not going to fall to bits. You'd want them to be in a car that's going to protect them if they do have the crash.
But do you need to spend a fortune? Mark Polton from Lemon Car does the rounds of local schools, teaching kids what to look for when buying their first car. He says it's about education, not money.
A lot of students say, what kind of car should I buy?
I'll say, mate, just the one you can afford, but do me program first and make sure you know what to look for. They haven't been educated enough. Yeah, that's it. A lot of kids don't have a father figure to teach them about a ball tyre. So I put 3 of mine out on display and which one's bald. Some of them pick them up, some have no idea.
There are the obvious things to look out for when buying a used car: the make, the model, the safety features and the price. But something that can often be overlooked is a well-documented service history.
It's probably a big tick that it's been previously well maintained, and keep maintaining it, because it's not just about buying the car and just driving and that's it. You should service the car every 6 months or 10,000, and if it's an older vehicle, every 3 months or 5,000 Ks.
But all agree it's the driver that matters most.
The most important safety feature in a motor car is the man or the girl who's holding the steering wheel.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Yeah, being the first one on and being the first day, everyone gets excited, and it's right near the track and a bit of wildlife, so just nice and easy, and we're through day one so far.
Touching back down in Newcastle, forlorn figures, but it's not the Jets' performance fans have been talking about.
It's disappointing when you feel you don't get good calls, but that's part of football, you know, the refs try and do their best job.
The penalty area created headlines pre-game, and that didn't change after kick-off.
Things happen, wrong decision, and then those things can change the game.
Berisha took his record-breaking chance, putting the Jets on the back foot. It just wasn't Newcastle's night. Ivan Vojica went down with what's suspected to be a hamstring tear before another controversial call early in the second half. Minutes later, Melbourne made it 3.
It's completely affected the game. One's the shoulder and one's an arm, and it's not debatable. One was a pen and one wasn't. The manner in which we conceded, the 3 other goals wasn't good enough.
The Jets did show some fight. Malele came off the bench to peg one back, and after the victory made it 4 through James Troisi, Wayne Brown added another, further salvaging some pride.
To concede 4 goals in the manner we conceded was not good enough. I think you saw tonight we can play football that's worthy of us being in the top 6, and we need to defend better.
Vojica limped through Newcastle Airport today. He had scans late this afternoon, and while the results aren't in yet, the diagnosis isn't looking good.
Kind of disappointed with the 1 point, to be honest. We came here looking for 3, and we definitely needed to keep our finals hopes alive. Yeah, I suppose we're kind of disappointed with the 1 point.
Step by step, ever so carefully, he's lifted to safety. Philip Leslie in the hands of those he now owes his life to. The 52-year-old today sore but ever thankful.
Hard to put in words without being emotional.
That's because he knows just how lucky he was. Riding through the Wadigans National Park yesterday morning, in an instant he lost control and plummeted 40 metres.
It was very slow motion. I knew what was happening. My main priority was just to stop rolling any further. Ledge that come afterwards, I don't even want to think about that.
The rescue effort that followed was nothing short of remarkable. It involved more than 30 people from the RFS, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, specialist paramedics, doctors, and the Westpac rescue helicopter.
Just a huge thank you. It was perfect. There was no dramas. Everyone worked well. It was a credit to them, really.
Mr. Leslie's injuries, remarkably just a broken femur and some bruised ribs. Philip now faces a fairly lengthy rehabilitation, around 12 weeks, but he vows, despite everything he's gone through, that he will, quite literally, get back on the bike.
Probably not quite doing that, but yeah, definitely won't stop.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Cracked and warping, Adam Lowe's house has seen better days.
We got the sunroom re-bricked, we had it rendered, and it's since cracked again. And there's some evidence in looking at the house that there's some piers that have dropped.
The decision to get a pool providing a vital clue as to why the home was showing signs of stress.
When we were digging for the pool, we found a metal structure and we weren't sure exactly what that was.
Then last June, the pieces of the puzzle came together when Newcastle Council received advice from the EPA that a gasworks may have operated on land beneath these homes. Residents have now united to form an action group ahead of another round of testing aimed at revealing the extent of any soil contamination. Until then, the council has advised residents not to eat any vegetables grown at the properties or eggs laid by hens, to avoid having areas of bare soil and to minimise exposure to soil when gardening by wearing gloves and washing hands. Precautions that have worried those with children, both young and old.
We worry that they've been exposed as kids playing in the backyard, like all kids do, play in the dirt, dig holes.
As well as those who have called the area home for decades.
And some of those people have been in that position where they've grown gardens and had chickens and things like that. So their level of exposure could potentially be greater than mine.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Ruined by the April 2015 superstorm, the Pelican boat ramp now sits unused. Plans to reopen it stalled following the marina collapse and new data on Swansea Channel.
And it shows that the channel's migrating, I guess, eastward, and it's affecting this boat ramp and this section of the foreshore quite significantly.
Now, the Department of Primary Industries has recommended the ramp be moved 170 metres away.
We're hoping to get some community feedback on that. We know it's a popular swimming location down there, so there is some nice sandy beach, and I guess that's probably the reason that the boat ramp's proposed to go there as well. It does provide some slack water for safe entry of the boats.
Some residents have already expressed their concern about the proposal and how it could disrupt the nearby park and waterfront.
It'll only be the launching area down there and a circulation space. So the infrastructure here will stay and it will be still utilised by the boating community. It's just that the launching will take place down there and then all the boats will come out the boat and trailer will come out of that area to park in this area.
The public can have a say until February 3. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Today was a whole different day, so a lot of speed, a lot of fast roads, really dusty, so I got caught up a little bit at the first two riders I caught up to, and other than that, it was a good day.
In a position Theo thought about coming, but was away from home since round 4. Hamstring, the ball over the top, tested that hamstring, he pulled up. Well, he's
Hot, exhausted, a tough welcome to 2017 for the Knights.
The will and want was very good, but I'd say probably a little bit rusty, as you'd probably expect.
There's no time to waste. It's just over a month to the Auckland Knights and a host of trials. Who features in what, amid so much competition for spots, will be largely based on how players train.
Everyone will get some sort of opportunity to put their hat in the ring.
New signing Joe Wardle's opportunities will be limited. Waiting on a visa, he isn't expected to arrive in town until the end of the month, and he's currently recovering from surgery.
One of the great things with the English players is the value you get for on your salary cap. That's, so look, I'm not going to put any pressure on Joe, but Joe will be a very, very handy acquisition.
He'll join a host of other new faces, and there may be more on the way.
We definitely would like to add players with a little bit of experience, whichever position it is. We've definitely got plenty of room at the moment, but in the short term, I'm not sure there's going to be too much happening.
Brown concedes in 2017, Kalen Ponga is unlikely to be one of them.
Would it be good to have him? Yeah, it would have been great, but he gets to play with Jonathan Thurston and Matt Scott and Michael Morgan, all them great Queensland players. So either way, it's a win for us.
Trent Hodkinson was back out on the field today.
Medical staff have taken him through a bit of a different program this year to put a lot of time strengthening his knee and get some muscle and a bit more stability around it.
He's part of a new leadership group alongside Dane Gagai, Pete Ancioni, Matautea, Jared Mullen and new signings Jamie Bura and Rory Koschaisen, but no decision has been made on a captain.
We've got a leadership coach that's working with him and we'll work through that and see what evolves out of it.
After a rough 36 hours at sea, Lake Macquarie yacht Shakti might be a little tattered, but its 12-man crew couldn't be prouder to take out the win. They crossed the finish line at the Southport Yacht Club in the early hours of the morning.
My crew have done many Hobart races over the years, and it was just a nice pleasant break to come north instead of south.
A total of 18 boats raced up the east coast, including 2 local vessels.
There's been some big seas too. It's been quite exciting for them, but the breeze has literally thrown them up here to the Gold Coast.
It's the first time the Pittwater race has wrapped up in Southport, relocated due to damage at the Coffs Harbour Marina.
Probably just that extra day or extra night offshore, and a bit more navigation involved once you get north of Coffs.
Gold Coast skippers hoping it's here to stay.
Being a Gold Coaster, we'd love to have it here each year. Well, open arms to have it here each year.
Sam Cucciara, NBN News.